Wagwan Creative Mind, welcome to another sewing project. If you're new here, you're welcome. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Marvel, and on here I share pattern drafting, sewing tutorials, and everything fashion related. Thank you so much, my old subscribers, for constantly supporting this channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful green dress that I'm putting on. I had different mood boards for this dress. I wanted the upper part of this particular dress, and I wanted the down part of this other dress, and voila, and this is what I came up with. So if you're interested in learning how to make what I'm putting on, then keep watching this video to the end, as I'll be sharing a detailed step by step. Let's get right into it. So for this project, I made use of a crepe material. So this crepe fabric has a pattern which I intend to follow through with when I'm cutting. I have about 4 yards here, but I did not exhaust it. So you can go ahead and use whatever fabric you have, and we're also going to be drafting this on our pattern first before cutting on our fabric. So I've gone ahead to fold my full pattern into two, just like so, because I'll be using this to cut for both the front and the back. And from my starting line, I'll go ahead and impute my bust point, my under bust, my waistline, and of course my hip point. So my hip point is where I'm going to begin the design for the down parts. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight all these lines properly so you can see it clearly. So next off is to just label them appropriately for you to understand. So now I'm going to be drafting my shoulder. So I'm working with so the down part, first of all, I have about 36 inches, but the length of this dress, I want it to be about 4 inches. So when I'm cutting on my bin fabric, I will add extra 4 inches there. So now I'm going to measure my shoulder. Then I went down by 1 inches for shoulder slope. Then I'll be marking my chest line like so. So I'm just going to highlight it. To get your chest line is bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 3 inches by, so for the front depth, I'll be doing 6.5 depth. Then I'm going to come out by about 4.5 inches. So this is more like a QueenAnn neckline. So I'm just going to draw it like so, and I'm going to connect it to the upper part. Remember, the upper part is about 3 inches and the down is 4.5 inches wide. Then I'm going to be connecting to my shoulder slope just like I did here. So for the back neckline, I'm doing 1 inches depth. So I'm just going to connect it with my curve just like I'm doing. So here we have for the back neckline and the front neckline. So what I have at the upper part there, which is my shoulder, I'll mark it at my chest line so as to have an accurate straight line like so. I'll divide what I have at that point by 2. I'll mark the midpoint and I'll come out by 0.5 inches and I'll connect. But before I connect to the other side, I just connected to the center first. At my chest line, I'll mark my round bust divided by 4, and I'll just mark it and I'll connect it to the center point like so to get my armhole curve just like I did there. So the next step now is to go ahead and impute all my other circumference measurements. So at my bust point, I imputed my round bust divided by 4, and I marked it there. So at my under bust, measure your under bust and divide it by 4 and also mark it there. I'll do same for my waistline and my hip line, and I'll connect all lines like I'm doing here. So I'm going to be imputing a dart, but I'm going to be closing the dart later on because I don't want a dart to be visible on the dress. So I'm just going to highlight all these points for you to see how it's going to be looking like. At the other side, I went ahead to, that is at the shoulder, I added 0.5 inches for stitching allowance. So to create a curve at my hip line, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to first of all get the midpoints like I'm doing here. Just mark about 5 inches. You can get the midpoint, mark about 5 inches. So I went up by about 3 inches at the center of my pattern, and I connected it to the 5 inches that I marked like I did there. Then at the side I went up by 2.5 inches and I connected it back again to that 5 inches that I marked. I hope you understand how I did it. So that's basically it for the drafting. So for me to place my darts, which is actually really optional, I'm going to get my nipple to nipple points from my underbust. I'll just go ahead and mark it. So for my waistline, sorry, I'll just get my nipple to nipple measurement. I'll do same as well for my hip line, and I'm going to be connecting this with a straight line like I'm doing here. I'm going to be doing a little bit of tightening. I went up by 2 inches at my hip line, then came down for my underbust by 1 inches. Then at my waistline I marked about half inches on both sides, and I'm connecting it like so. So this part, you can skip this part if you want, but this for me also helped to give it fitting and also take away zipper bulge in a way. So what I took out for my waistline, I replaced it at the side so as not to have shortage of fabric, and I went ahead to connect like so with a curve. So I'm going to be closing this dart later on when I'm about to cut on my fabric. So that's basically it for the drafting. The down parts are going to be slashing and spreading to get our gathers. So we're going to first cut for the back piece. So we're going to be cutting first for the back neckline. So I'm just going to cut like so. Then we'll cut on our fabric before we come back and cut for the front. So that's other slash and spread parts, I'll keep it. So this is what it should look like by the time you are done. The down part is going to also look like this. So now I'm just going to place on my fabric, and I'm going to firstly close my darts just like I said I would. So I'll just go ahead and fold it a bit, and I'm going to be using a tape to just tape it down. So just tape it down neatly like so. So I'm just going to place it on my fabric now. Remember I told you that I want to align the fabric in a way, so I just aligned it this way to cut it out. So I went ahead to leave about 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. Then at the down part I left 0.5 inches. Then at the side I left about 1.5 inches for my allowance as well, stitching allowance. And I went ahead to also go ahead and take out about 0.5 inches at the underbust part, and I connected with a curve. This is just to take out gaping at the back when I fix my zipper. So that's basically it. So now I'm going to modify my pattern, and I'm going to cut for the front piece. So I'll just go ahead and take out the neckline. That's basically the only difference. I'll take out the neckline and I'll go ahead and cut for my front piece. I'm going to be cutting my front piece off camera because I didn't want this video to be longer than it already is. I will also go ahead and cut interfacing, which I'll show you later on. So next is for us to divide. So I'm going to measure what I have on my full pattern on fold like so, and I'm going to be dividing it in 5 places. So I'm going to be marking it like so. I'll just divide what I have. For instance, if you have a total of maybe 8 inches, you can just divide it by 0.5 to be able to know what to measure and slash. So I'm just going to be connecting it all the way, just like I'm doing here. So for the front and the back gathers, I'm going to be cutting it on fold. So I'm going to be cutting my fabric on fold. So just label it 1 2 3 4 and 5, just like I did, and I'm going to be cutting it out. So for the length of what you are going to be folding, it depends on how full you want it to be. For me, I did a total length of 40 inches. That's it. It's going to be 80 inches, so 80 inches on fold, just like I did here. So what I have here on fold is about 40 inches, and this is how, so by the time you spread it fully, it will be 80 inches. So now I'm going to go ahead and pin my fabric, because I don't want it to be moving because of the kind of fabric I was working with. So I'm going to be placing my pattern like so. So at this point, I almost forgot that I wanted to add extra 4 inches to it, but I'm going to add it later on. I will adjust this pattern later on. So I'm just going to be spreading it like so. So I'm going to be spreading it 7.2 inches apart. So after placing number 1, I'm going to measure 7.2 inches. So I'm measuring 7.2 inches because I divided what I have by about 5, so as to be able to know how to place it apart. You can as well measure yours. You can do 5, you can do 6. Depends on how full you want the gathers to be. So mine, because I'm doing 40 inches, so I'm going to be spreading it apart 7 inches all the way. So I'm going to be pinning this down, and when I'm cutting, I'm going to be cutting exactly the shape of the upper part. So the upper part, I'm just going to be leaving about 0.5 inches. So I'm going to be leaving about 1 inches, because I'm going to be folding the edge of the upper parts. You can use a bias for it, but I didn't use a bias for mine. So for you to get it very full, to get the gathers very full at the upper parts, just leave about 1.5 inches, so that once you fold it in and once you are gathering it on your dress, you will have a fuller outcome than mine. So this was when I was done adjusting it, and I added the extra 4 inches that I wanted on the dress, because I didn't want the dress so short. But if you want yours very short, you can as well just do a total of 36 or 35 inches for the full length of your dress. So at this point, I've gone ahead to trace out exactly the way my pattern is carefully, and I left about 1 inches at the upper parts, so that when I'm gathering it on my dress, the down part will still remain straight. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the back piece, only that the back piece, I'm going to be cutting them apart, and I'll also leave about half an inch for joining together. So you can as well cut yours together, but mine, I cut it separately. That's for the back. So I cut it as if I'm adding a zipper at the back. So I'm going to be notching the center of this, and this is how it looks like. You can see that the shape came out well. So I'm going to be gathering this. So by the time I'm done gathering this, I'll show you later. I'll do same for the back and keep aside. So next now is to quickly begin stitching. So the first step is to go ahead and close up the neckline. So what I'll do is just to close up only the neckline. I won't be closing the shoulder part yet. So I'll also do the same for the front piece. I'll use the interfacing to turn the neckline of the front as well. So this is what it look like for the front, and this is the back, what it looks like. So the next step now is to go ahead and fix our zipper for the back. But before I go ahead to fix my zipper, I'm going to measure how long I want the zipper part to be, and I'll measure it. I'm going to be inserting my zipper about 17 inches, so between 16 to 17 inches. Then the remaining side, I'm going to go ahead and close it up, and after closing that up, I'm going to insert my zipper and come back and show you. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done inserting my zipper. After this, I'll go ahead and give it a good press. You can see how neat it's looking. Yours should look even neater than this. Go ahead and make any adjustments you need to make and align it properly. So after doing that, the next step, so this is what the back looks like. I remember I told you that I was going to cut the gathers for the back as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and gather this, but before I gather it, I'll fold the upper part about 1 inch, sorry, all the way around. This is the back piece. I cut it separately. I'll go ahead and also close up the edge, upper part, and I'll gather it as well. So to be sure of the inches I want to gather my fabric to, I'll measure my top. So by the time I measure it like this, I think I had about 29 inches or lesser. I can't remember the exact inches. So I'm just going to gather it to be exactly the full top length. That's what I just measured. So I'll go ahead and gather this neatly off camera. I'll also gather for the back as well. So I'll just go ahead and gather for the back, and I'll also gather for the front. And by the time I'm done gathering, I'll come back and show you the next step. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done gathering it. If you're using probably an Ankara print, the gathers is going to really pop out really well. So now I'm just going to measure about 1/2 inch on my top at the down part of the design, so that it's going to be a guide. As I'm gathering it, I'll be following the curviness of the top. So just measure about 0.5 inches. I'm just going to mark it with a chalk so that when I'm gathering it on my machine, I'll follow the design like so. So I'm just going to go ahead and align it properly. So I'm just going to align it. You can see how I'm doing it. So just adjust your gather like so, and ensure that the down part is straight. So the essence why I cut it with the shape of the design, my gathers, is to ensure that it comes out straight at the down part. So just make adjustments. So as you're stitching, you'll be making adjustments. As you're stitching, you'll be making adjustments so as to give it a very beautiful outcome. So this part wasn't really so easy, I wouldn't even lie, but just try your best to ensure that you do not rush this part so as to get a beautiful outcome. You can see the down part, how straight it is. So this is what it's going to look like. I'll go ahead and stitch all the way to this part, just like I'm demonstrating with my hands. So this was after I was done stitching it. So when you're stitching, stitch exactly the point. So I stitch exactly the 1 inches that I left at the upper part, and I did same for the back so as to give it that poppiness, that's design that you see there. So the next step now is to join our piece together. I'm going to be joining the shoulders first. I'll close up my shoulders, and I'll also go ahead and close up the sides of my dress. You can see that I did not gather that point, so I'll go ahead and close it all the way straight down, and voila, our dress is almost ready. So just go ahead and make any adjustments. I'm just going to cut out any excess I have at the shoulder and also at the armhole points. So I'm going to measure my armhole round so that it will help me to be able to cut out for the sleeve I want to. It's just a straight simple sleeve. I've gone ahead to fold the fabric the way I want it to be, so I just went ahead to fold it. So my sleeve is a total of what I did here is 12 inches. I included what I'll be using to fold the hemline, about 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark a straight line at the 12 inches, just like so, and I'll come down by 1 4.5 inches and I'll mark it. Then from that 4.5 inches, I'll curve it to the upper part just to give me that curving, that slope armhole curve design. So I'm just going to ensure that what I have is exactly what I measured. So I'll adjust it again and I'll curve it and I'll remeasure, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So you can see I have a total of 12 inches for the length of my sleeve. So by the time I finish folding, I'm also going to be just having about 10.5 inches in total. So I'll cut this in 2 places. I'll place this on the second part of the sleeve and I'll cut it out before, and I'll go ahead and measure the down parts. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut it out like I'm doing here. And after I was done, I measured the down parts of my sleeve, how I want it to be. So just measure the down part of your armhole where it's going to be sitting and ensure that it's exactly it, so as to give it that fitting, just like mine came out. So after adjusting it, I went ahead to cut it out. So now the next step is to go ahead and close the side of my sleeve and also close the down part of my sleeve. Give it a good press and we'll be fixing our sleeves. So voila, this is what it looks like by the time I was done. You can see how beautiful it came out. So I'm just going to go ahead and make all my adjustments. I'll cut it out in the shape I want it to be. Remember, the front armhole is different from the back armhole. It's a little bit open, so I'll make that adjustment just like I'm doing now. I'll just cut at about 0.2 inches out. I'll adjust the other sleeve as well, and the next step is to fix our sleeve on our dress and also close the hem line. So after doing that, basically that's all for this tutorial. I hope you learned something, and I also hope you'll be trying this out. So let me know in the comment section if you have any question. I'll be available to answer all your question. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video to your friends, and also give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching with me to the end, and I'll definitely be seeing you in my next tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye.